Hello guys, welcome to the first episode of Baobab Radio. I am LEMI, head of artists here at Baobab Studios, and my co-host.
Baby on the island, and welcome to Baobab Studios. This is our little creative oasis in the heart of Kilifi, where we experiment with sound, record music, we mix, we master, and of course, we release.
And that's a big part of why we're having this episode. Baobab Studios, as much as we are a studio that is part of the production of Beneath the Baobabs Festival, we are also very much a record label, and we are finally at that point in our record label journey where we are excited to share the music that we've been working on with the rest of the world. We have a lot of amazing artists that we've been bringing through, and we'll have one of them as our guests here today.
Cool. So without further ado, let me cue up the first track.
All right. So I'm going to play a couple of stuff from our forthcoming VA. A lot of it is going to be unreleased. This is like first listen for the rest of the world.
Nota senyowe tumia niekima kama ugamanya mukiona wanyuwe dhaifa bakugota Nota senyowe tumia niekima kama ugamanya mukiona wanyuwe dhaifa bakugota Nota ni wakapindi Biblia ni umumu Bembola kamusa mukamirwa Were mukahenda jeho kapindi akilogae Nagota tumia munagote Baba yo ukimugota Manye unachakotwa ni anao Unalakwanila na marioga duniane Nota isenyuwe tumia ni ekima kamugamanya ukiona wanyuwe dhaifa wakugota Nota isenyuwe tumia ni ekima kamugamanya ukiona wanyuwe dhaifa wakugota Nota ine wakapende Biblia ni umumo Bembola kamusa mukamirwa Were ukahenda jeho kapende akiloga Nagota tumia munagote Baba yo ukimugota Manye unachakotwa ni anao Unalakanila na warioga Nota isinyuwe tumia ni ekima kamugamanya kamukiona wanyuwe dhaifa wakugota Nota isinyuwe tumia ni ekima kamugamanya kamukiona wanyuwe dhaifa wakugota Nota ini wakapindi Biblia ni umumu Bembola kamusa mukamirwa Were ukahenda jeho kapindi akiloga Nagota tumia munagote Baba yo ukimugota Manye unachakotwa ni anao Unalakwanila na marioga duniane Senyowe tumia ni ekima kamugamanya ukiona wanyuwe dhaifa wakugota Nota senyowe tumia ni ekima kamugamanya ukiona wanyuwe dhaifa wakugota Nota ine wakapindi Biblia ni umumu Bembola kamusa mukamirwa Were ukahenda jeho kapindi akiloga Nagota tumia munagote Baba yo ukimugota Manye unachakotwa ni anao Unalakanila na marioga Nagota tumia munagote Baba yo ukimugota Manye unachakotwa ni anao Unalakanila na marioga duniane Nagota tumia munagote baba yoke mugota manyana jagota niana dala kanila mari agota tuya una gota baba yoke mugota manyana jagota niana dala kanila mari yoga duniani agota tuya una gota baba yoke mugota manyana jagota niana dala kanila mari agota tuya una gota baba yoke mugota manyana jagota niana dala kanila mari yoga duniani agota tuya una gota baba yoke mugota manyana jagota niana dala kanila mari baba dala kanila mari yoga duniani dala kanila mari mana buta dala kanila mari yoga duniani dala kanila mari ana buta dala kanila mari yoga duniani dala kanila mari mama dala kanila mari yoga duniani dala kanila mari yoga atami dala kanila mari yoga duniani dala kanila mari yoga duniani dala kanila mari yoga duniani dala kanila mari yoga duniani
Wow. Wow.
That is Uchawi by Mzetendere, reimagined by Heka and Mbaluka. Heka's our resident producer here at the studio, our sound engineer. So I feel like that song specifically gives us it peeks into like a lot of the things that we're about here at Baobab Studios. On one end, you have deeply rooted traditional music and reimagined by extremely forward-thinking psychedelic music production and that kind of music production technique on the song. Shout out Mbaluka, shout out Heka for Uchawi. And a bit earlier there, we had a song that yours truly is working on with Razorman called Vibin'. And I think that one just resonates with the vibe of BTB entirely, man. It's a party song. We made it in one afternoon just chilling here in the studio.
Lit.
Completely free, nothing scripted. We completely just vibed with it. And that's what the song is called, Vibin'. So, yeah.
Oh, nice. I love that. And one thing I really love about these tracks you're playing is just how, you can feel like there's a little bit of like indigenous influence and like, Razorman is from the coast,
Yeah.
Zetendere, of course, is from, Maldindi. So you can feel like the coastal soul in it, but also like the electronic elements in it. And
It's Baobabi.
it's Baobabi.
That could be a word. I feel like that's in its own way, it's kind of the ethos of the music that we're making here. It's very much inspired by what we are surrounded by, but at the same time, it's forward thinking enough to appeal to our international audience and hopefully be the kind of thing that a global audience can kind of understand. And you might not understand what they're saying, but you understand the vibes for sure.
It's a baobab.
It's a baobab vibe.
It's a baobab.
Oh, it's a baobab.
Yeah,
That's a
it's
cool
a
one.
baobab.
We should trademark that.
Anyways, we are about to bring on our first guest. He is someone we love very much. Welcome to
Baobab Radio. We're excited to introduce our first guest, Mr. Ghedi.
Oh, welcome, Ghedi.
Welcome, Ghedi. It is such a pleasure to have you here with us on Baobab Radio as our first guest. How does that feel?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me.
How did you first come to the studio? How did you learn about this place or discover this place? What drew you here?
Well, I think it was the festival before the studio because that came afterwards. But I had just started DJing in Addis. It was probably like 2017, 2018. And then I had a bunch of friends come for the festival and they came back and they're like, you won't believe the music that we heard. It was crazy. It was house, but it was African. And I was like, huh. And at the time, I hadn't really crystallized my identity as an artist playing in the electronic space, but from an African perspective. And in a lot of ways, it was my first introduction. You know, like the internet's a great equalizer as well. So digging into the sound, finding black coffee, which I think is probably a lot of people's first step.
Yeah.
And then, you know, connecting with the community. Somebody who's extremely irresponsible gave me Matt's phone number, and then I just harassed him until I came here and played for the first time.
That's a good way to do it.
Yeah, and then the first time I played here, I felt free, like musically as well, but also something about the space here as well. The site has something quite special to it, and I felt very drawn to it, and I've been spending every New Year's here since.
Amazing.
How many times have you played the festival?
I think this year will be my 5th time coming up this New Year's.
That's crazy. That's older than some COVID babies.
Ghedi's been playing Kilifi since before COVID babies. That's crazy, man.
Right? Anyways, you're playing something for us, aren't you?
Yeah, we so the last journey to the Baobabs, which was exactly this time last year, we spent we had a Suffocate essay headlining, and you know, this last 18 months for me has been quite important in terms of shaping my sound, moving away from what's quite predictable. I think as an artist, I've always been drawn to, you know, what's new, what's fresh. And Suffocate and Taxin are, you know, the pioneers of 3-step.
Yeah.
So we had him in studio here for a week, and it was super eye-opening, not just for me, but my boy Hereby was here as well. LEMI, we sat down in the studio and just did nothing for days on end. We walked away with a couple of projects and then have been tweaking them ever since. And now we got it's ready to come out. So this first one is called Terra Sunrise. Let me just play it.
like the Kenyan BPM.
Yes, he's very adamant about that. He believes we found our speed.
Yeah, 118 is like heartbeats.
I think because it works with like faster amapiano, it makes sense for like your three-step songs.
True.
To some extent, even deep house, it's like a unifying BPM, so it works. You can play around quite a bit with it.
That's true.
Yeah, and this track actually has the two tracks that we made together with Sufo actually pull from influences from a bunch of different genres. So this one's very deep, like SA deep housey.
Yeah.
So it's at 118 as well. I think we put down the drums together, and we're like standing on the terrace, and just like, what should we add? And we're like, all right, maybe some classic house chords. And then Sufo runs inside, and 3 minutes later, it's done. I've never seen anybody work with his like precision and speed, and also just zero latency or gap between an idea and then the execution of it.
Yeah.
He's special, man. And I think he's gonna have a huge career as well.
Shout out to Suffocate.
You know?
Shout out.
A bit earlier, Baby and I were talking about how the work ethic of a lot of these South African artists, when you get in studio with them, it's really impressive. How did you feel about that? Or would you say you were able to experience a bit of that getting in studio with Sufo? I mean, you did 3 songs in one weekend?
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest with you, I get fatigued in studio quite easily. And being around somebody who has that endurance as well also demonstrates to you like, no, this is the level required.
Yeah.
Like if you want to put out good music consistently, you need to be spending lots of time in studio. And I think that's the one thing that's missing from like the Kenyan scene. There's a handful of artists who are putting out some good releases. But I don't feel like there's a culture of we're locked in the studio this weekend.
Yeah.
And maybe some of that is due to like, an increased demand for these guys that are releasing this music to be gigging. And it's a tough balance to strike, like how do you earn an income as a DJ and play often and, keep yourself relevant, keep your names out there. But then also at the same time, dedicate that same amount of time to studio. And most people also have day jobs as well. So it's a tricky balance. And I think it demonstrates to me that, it's all in or nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I think in this case, the way the Kenyan scene developed is kind of different from many other places. Like, in many cases, you have promoters who are already DJs and they already wear those 2 hats. And it's after wearing those 2 hats that they want to get into music production. So it literally requires them kind of like finding space for almost a third job in their life, to be that music producer. When you compare that to like scenes like SA, you often find it's easier to blow up as a producer, and from that you find your DJ gigs, and that's the progression. So
Yeah. It's
it
the
kind
other
of
way
makes
around here.
exactly.
Yeah, like you mostly start as a DJ. Most people get their bearings as DJs first, and then later are like, oh, maybe I should produce.
Yeah, I mean, there's no right or wrong way to do this, right? And I think this DJ first, producer route second is a lot of people realize at a certain point, like if you're not putting out music, then it's also hard to sell a certain amount of tickets, which ultimately, dictates your fee at a certain day as well, at a certain point as well too. So it becomes this like pipeline of like, okay, you're a successful DJ, you're great at your craft, you've mastered it, but where's your product? Where's the thing that we can sell? Or, where's a playlist we can post for people so people can come listen to your music before coming to our shows? So I think it puts a lot of pressure on DJs to jump into production.
Yeah.
And I don't really agree with it. I think fundamentally you should be making music because making music is fun and it speaks to you, right? Like it's something that you need to express. I think the next big step for the Kenyan scene is when we see less promoter DJs. I think this is a hallmark of a young scene, and it means that bookings and people that are playing in certain spaces, it's not merit based. It's via connection, or it's it's just this crew in this space. And it's limiting because then ultimately you're not challenged, right? You're not going to work your ass off because you're like, no, that's my boy. I know I'm going to get booked there.
Exactly.
Whereas if that's not the case, it's how good were you? How good was your last set? Then there's a different fire under your ass, right?
Yep.
So I think that's probably the next step for our scene here.
I like that. I have a question to pose to both of you as producer DJs in the Kenyan scene. We happen to be shooting this on the weekend after Journey to the Baobabs, so we both got to hear both of you play some banging sets. Ghedi happened to be headlining, and Baby on the Island played the opener for FK Mash. So
And LEMI closed. He
And I
closed. He sent us out.
True.
So-
Big up yourself.
pick up ourselves. I think all of us deserve that. I would say my question to you guys is, as producer DJs here in the scene, I got to hear a bit of your edits, a bit of your music in your sets. What role would you say that plays in like defining your sound and defining your sets as DJs as well. Because obviously, the pipeline, there's no right way or wrong way to do it, but it surely does help if you're a producer who's also making your music, who's also throwing out those edits. So you both played great sets, and I know for a fact both of your sets had certain percentages of original music. So like, what role would you say that goes in like helping you define that sound and like define how you want people to experience you as a DJ as well as a producer?
Do
You
I
want to go
start
first?
us?
You gotta go first. Ladies first.
Okay, fine. Well, I played a couple of remixes this weekend, and that was kind of fun testing it out on the big function ones. Because how I started DJing was through remix culture. Remix culture is really what got me into like DJ culture and DJing, and I actually started producing before I started DJing. So I really loved it. I loved that I could kind of like also bring like my Mombasa influences into my sets, because I mixed like some Mombasa tracks, like Makmuga by Alikiba, which is bongo, but like technically Mombasa also.
Yeah.
Into like the song by C Black, which is kind of like the fast-paced deep house. And I love that I could just like fuse the two and create this thing where it's like I love both worlds, you know? So yeah, that's how I felt. How did you feel, Ghedi?
So I have a bit of a gripe with remix culture in Afro House at the moment. I think it's a lot of remixes of like Western pop songs.
Yeah.
And I think it's being done for like some nefarious purposes. Some of these big record labels are just trying to push new life into some of their back catalog just to make more money out of it. But then that being said, I'm not just gonna like sit here hating without like an answer to it, right? So I asked myself like, why is this being done and who is this for? And then it dawned on me, like I was like, I grew up listening to a lot of the music from the region and from the continent. Why not be able to remix those and breathe new life into them and show to a new generation, but also in a way kind of pay homage to what came before us. I also doing remixes is fundamentally easier than doing originals.
It is.
And
It is.
I'm still a baby in my production journey, so it's the first step. But yeah, it's also, there's no better feeling than playing your own music in your sets.
100%.
How did you feel playing your own music in your set, Lemmy?
Of course, it was coming back. In my case, I think it was one of my first songs in my set, and I was feeling a little bit of nerves. I think it's a good thing when you feel a bit of nerves on a good stage, but it just felt so wholesome, and like I have spent a good amount. I found myself in production before DJing, so like when I started DJing, a big deal for me was being able to make the music I want to play, So being able to do that, being able to see the beautiful reactions of our Kilifians to original music that was made like some 200 meters from where they're dancing, that is a nice feeling. And I think, it just makes me want to make a lot more music and put a lot more of my original music into my sets,
Yeah. And that's the beauty of the studio, You can kind of come here and just make your favorite song. 1 hour later, just go play it, I mean, depends on how fast your process is, but yeah.
I mean, Sufu could definitely do that. Oh, man, I think that is a perfect point to listen to. We have another song from Ghedi, actually.
And Sufu.
And Sufu.
And
Hear It. This is a big one. Okay.
Whole collaborative process. And
Before we even play this,
yes,
tell us about this song.
So this is also written in that brief camp. And one of the things that I've really enjoyed working with Sufo with, and I've come to understand is a big part of the culture in three-step, is it's extremely collaborative. If you look at a lot of the song titles, it's like 6 people listed on there. So there'll be a lot of people in the room, and sometimes somebody will just hang back, and then when it's time, I have this idea. What about this for a hook? What about this for a chorus? What about this for chords? And I think it comes across in the music. Like it's, I think even how you dance to it in general is very, you're not just standing 2-step and facing the DJ. It's you're dancing with people.
Yeah. And
it's also made that way as well, which I think is very beautiful. I think it translates. So this is a super collaborative project. Me, Hiri, Sufo, and then June jumped in on it, and we've been tweaking it for the last year, and I think just the last couple of days we felt like we got it right.
Nice.
So yeah, this is called I Found It. Suffocate, Ghedi, Hiri, June on the Moon.
Let's go.
So there it is. I found it.
Wow. Yeah, you did. You found it.
You really did find it. That is a beautiful song. I think it speaks to what you're saying about how Three Step is super collaborative. It sounds like so much happening, but it all works. It all fits together so nicely.
Yeah, and just the amount of influences as well too. You know, I think all of us came into that session and we have wildly different backgrounds. You know, Sufo is he's three-step royalty. Here he comes from an entirely different background than I do too as well. And June is from the acoustic and folk world. And you know, all these things put together with the right like alchemy and the right conditions, which are the studio, can really produce something like this. And I think you can kind of hear a bit of like a spiritualness of the space as well.
100%.
In the track.
100%. Speaking of June being in the folk world, I love the fact that we have a lot of folk musicians that are dabbling into Afro house. How do you feel about that, guys? That are dabbling into Afro house as the vocalist, lead vocalist
Oh
of different
yeah,
songs.
like Costa Ojwang and like yeah.
I mean, even in South Africa, guys like Msaki, if you listen to a very old back catalogue, it was very deeply folk rooted. And Msaki she's royalty in electronic Afro house, you know? So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think the more influences you can pull from, right? Because let's be brutally honest, I think a lot of electronic music is quite repetitive in nature, right? Like just the structure of it. But that's also kind of the beauty of it, right? They
Yeah.
can induce a sense of trance
Like
or
a
whatever.
trance.
Yeah, and having vocalists from different backgrounds, and then also having other session musicians from different backgrounds, you can pull some of those influences into that, and it's that electronic structure is kind of a canvas, so you can really add different depth and different layers to things that, and I think it comes across in the music as well too. So when you're playing this for a crowd at like JTB of 1,000 people or whatever, there are people there who aren't necessarily diehard about like electronic music, but they love folk music. And then for them, being able to hear those influences and stuff really finds a way of like crossing bridges and connecting. So I think it's the only way you come up with timeless music, really.
100%.
True. I think genres were meant to be broken.
100%.
Yeah.
That's a whole other argument, because I'm gonna start talking about my sentiments on
Talk your shit.
group genres, and I feel like
Go for it.
we spoke about this maybe like an hour ago, maybe 2 hours ago.
Oh, yes.
And I think it's annoying to say. The truth is, stuff like blanketing all of electronic music in Kenya as uns doesn't do justice to all the different genres and all the different music producers and artists chasing this thing in different subgenres. I feel like, especially for the newcomer, the new listener, it doesn't educate them effectively on what they like. Uns is now a term that applies to Amapiano, Afro house, deep house,
Jungle.
everything,
Dubstep.
everything fast,
Techno house.
anything you can rave to.
Yeah.
And on one level, maybe getting guys in the door, that's a thing. But like past that point, people need to know what they like, And so yeah, genres are made to be broken, but at the same time, they exist for a reason, because we need definitions.
I got some hot takes on this. So, in my capacity as Afro House and Melodic House curator at Beatport, I do see the value in giving names to things. I think names are important, right? Like even outside of a musical context. But for me, it's always felt like it's like this very hipster exercise to come up with more niche names for things. Like, yeah, I'm into ethno-indigenous Baobab House. It's like, what does this mean? Like,
Baobab House coming soon.
You know what I'm saying? That might come out of the studio. But my whole point has been, if you can call something and you're naming it in a way that allows people to find more of it and allows them to find more stuff that's similar to it and kind of aids them in their music discovery process, then fundamentally it's a good thing. In regards to how uns has become like an umbrella term, I see it a lot of the same way as EDM was back in the day. Sure. And it used to drive me crazy when people were like, oh yeah, he's an EDM DJ. And I'm like, oh, I'm dying inside. Don't call me that. But it's an umbrella term. And I think if you can view it from that perspective, it makes a bit of sense, right? Like, it's funny that this phrase was started in Kenya and is now kind of being used internationally.
I saw a party online in Lagos, and it was like Lagos uns. And I was like,
It's
wow.
crazy. It's so mad. But that also, I think it's a good thing, because it shows that people are paying attention to what's being done here, and also shows how things can be exported as well too. So maybe we can export a few more creative things.
I mean, I feel like our scene here truly is growing into a hub. It's growing into an Afro house hub in many ways. We have from the festivals to the clubs. What differences? I mean, both of you are very active in both the Nairobi and coastal DJ scenes. What differences would you say are most apparent DJing in your coastal festivals versus generally your Nairobi club life?
I think you play in both places more than I do. I think I'm probably like 70% Nairobi, 30% coast. But you're like 50-50, no?
No, I'm like 70% Nairobi too.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I play a lot more in Nairobi than I do at the coast, and I think mostly it's just because of the kind of music I play. And when I do play in the coast, it's mostly just Kilifi. I barely play in Mombasa unless I'm playing at somewhere like Rave Cave. But Afro House especially hasn't really broken into Mombasa like that, so there's not many spaces for me to play. So most of the time I'm in Nairobi. But if I had to compare, honestly, give me a track to play in Nairobi and give me a track to play in Kilifi, and I don't know why it just sounds so much better in Kilifi. It's just there's just something about listening to the same track, but just like outside, like under the stars, you're not freezing your butt off. You're just yeah. But also Nairobi has really just developed its infrastructure, like regarding like the Afro house scene, you know, and the electronic music scene. You know, there's so many places to play. Any single weekend, there's like 6 things happening. So
Yeah, it feels like this weekend in particular is every DJ under the sun is playing in Nairobi.
right, everyone I know has a show this weekend. Like, yeah, so that's just how I feel. But honestly, just because I'm biased, you know, as a coastal baby, I'm biased to Kilifi. So what's your take on that?
Wait, before I answer, I'm quite curious. Would you say there's like differences in terms of audiences and what they prefer, like within under the umbrella term oons? I'm sorry, I'm sorry to use this, but yeah, what do you feel like a Kilifi taste is versus like Nairobi?
Well, also, I kind of feel like people are a bit more open-minded in Kilifi as compared to Nairobi. I don't know. There's something about Nairobi that's just like is reminiscent of like a fast dopamine hit. You know, that's what
totally
like
agree.
Nairobi is. It's a fast dopamine hit. And sometimes I find that people go outside just to like get their fix. You know, they just want that woo moment. They want their la tuxin. You know, they want that. Whereas like in Kilifi, just because of like the pace of this place and you know, the stereotype that things at the coast are a lot slower, everything, but just I feel like people absorb music differently, you know. Someone will listen to like a set holistically. They just won't be like, oh, you played that banger, nice. Oh, that banger, that banger. It's more of just like, oh man, I really loved like the way your set flowed and the way it, you know. Whereas in Nairobi, it's very rare to like get those kinds of compliments about sets. You know, it's mostly just like that one track. Yeah, that was my song. That song you played, yeah, love that.
Yeah, no, I think it's I totally agree on the fast dopamine thing. It feels like one of my main beefs with just playing in Nairobi is audiences are, it feels to me a little bit they come in with expectations of like, you know, here are the top 40 Afro House tracks at the moment, and at any given moment there's a Night Freak song in there, there's something by Vanko, there's something by Drega, you know, and not to like shit on these producers, they're incredible, but it's that feeling of discovery I think is a bit lost. And I've definitely felt that sense of freedom here. I think I feel most free when I'm playing in Kilifi. It feels like audiences are extremely open-minded and you know, just down to dance. I think there's a slightly different I think people are probably a bit less reserved.
Self-conscious,
yeah, and like really like they hear something they like and it's, all right, I'm on all fours twerking now, this is great. And just yesterday I went to like Tri Bandas just to have dinner, and they're playing like Indo house and stuff, and I was like, what? Like, guys in Kilifi are listening to this?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those differences to me stand out, and I would love to hear more of kind of like an open-minded approach from audiences in Nairobi, because that would put less pressure on DJs. Because I also find myself falling into that trap of as well, right? Of like, I have to play
people pleasing.
I have to play these 3 big hits because, you know, people want to whip out their phones and capture it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the issue. Maybe it's phones.
Yeah, no, I think the issue is people pleasing, honestly. The moment I learned like to stop people pleasing with my sets is the moment like people started walking out of my sets.
But then
No,
it's only
I'm
the
joking.
diehards. Yeah, it's only the diehards left.
I'm joking, but no, actually, yeah, Nairobi has just a lot of pressure and like, oh man, people need to like this, you know. I hope people like this. Whereas in Kilifi, I know regardless of what I do, I could play like, you know,
I could play a Mwanzele song for like 10 minutes straight and I know people will dance to it. As opposed to like Nairobi, where I know people have their specific preferences and that's what they want to hear, you know, and you need to play Saka, you need to play Solala Sisonke, and yeah.
What do you think of the phone thing? Because I think it really does. It dictates how people interact with indie spaces, right?
Yeah.
Because now people also have a mind of I need to capture some content.
Yeah.
Because not only am I just at this party to have fun, but I also need everybody to know that I'm having fun.
Especially in this prevalent era of content creators. I mean, for me, I'm not really one who's against the phones because I recognize how important those phones can be to like being the next step in someone's career. I mean, there are DJs or artists who just catching the right video of the right viral moment was the difference between them not getting that next show and them turning into a superstar, you know? So I think I'll always advocate for people to be able to capture an event in the way that works out best for them. It's hard to take away phone culture because that's kind of like, even if we take off the camera aspect of it, it's like that's your phone, you know, that's how you're reaching out to the world, that's how you're communicating. As such, for me, I'm really okay with it. I think the emphasis falls on us as the people creating these events, the DJs curating these set lists, that how can we, obviously we're going to have those viral moments, but how can we make a performance that wants people to come back into it, like that brings people back into the moment, you know, because you're not going to be able to get away with guys. No, people always are going to want to record stuff, you know, and as technology gets better, they're only going to get fancier and cooler ways to do that. But I think the key becomes, can you bring them back to the moment, you know, like, cool, let me get this moment for my friends who aren't here. As a content creator, let me capture this. But are we able to just bring them back to reality? And I think if we can figure that out, people remember the experience. To touch on what you guys were saying about playing in coastal Nairobi, I find coastal crowds tend to listen to a lot more electronic music in their daily, like, chilling.
Yeah, in their downtime.
And their downtime. And as such, it makes their taste a bit more tweaked in a certain direction, you know, like
Refined.
It's truly refined. And I find, because of knowing this now over the years, the more I play in Coast, the more conscious I am that these guys, they can actually, I don't just need to play Afro House. In fact, I can go the whole set without playing the crowd pleasers and play one at the very end because they actually are deep listeners. I'm always so jazzed when I'm playing a song and I'm like, this is a really deep cut. And some guy in the crowd just comes and asks me if it's so and so, and it's like, how do you even know this? You know, this isn't in any Afro chart. It's probably categorized as deep minimal on Beatport, you know. But it's realizing that this crowd actually is that sophisticated in how much they care about the music, and that's also kind of now played a part in how I shape my sets. Like, I know I can go hard. I know for JTB, for example, I really wanted to go across genres. Did a bit of Afro house, did a bit of, like, honestly, I dare say almost tech house, almost deep tech, just
Yeah.
tying it together with key and coming back to the 3-step. And people genuinely, they listened. And I get a few comments later where guys are actually telling me about specific moments, how I was blending this song and that song. And you realize, wow, guys here actually listen. When I compare this to my shows in Nairobi, because I think maybe I'm kind of split down the middle, 50-50 Coast, 50-50 Nairobi. My Nairobi shows, I find people really notice when I play the big songs. And I remember this day playing like maybe an hour and a half of a set, and I was like, man, I'm not really getting to guys. And I chose to play this 3-step song as a personal choice, not because I thought it was a banger. But then, not because I thought it was a banger that everyone would know, because I was like, I like this song. But it also happened to be one of those slightly more popular songs. And then seeing the reaction of people, I'm like, man, I don't think this is the best song I've played, but the way guys have reacted would suggest otherwise, you know? And I think it, like you're saying, it puts you in an interesting box as a DJ, because now you're trying to figure out what's the balance between educating this audience and playing what this
Familiarity.
relatively educated audience wants to hear, you know? Because I feel like the stakes feel slightly higher in Nairobi, you know? Like in Coast, like Chia said, guys are gonna dance, man. Like, you can play your Mwenzele and they're gonna dance. Whereas I would wonder in Nairobi, can I get away with these risky songs? You did a really cool risky one at JTB that went off super well. What was that Afrobeat song that you played?
Oh, Asake. Yeah,
Yeah.
That wasn't a flip. That was original.
Bruh.
Yeah, no,
And-
these there's 2 tracks from Asake with the producer SARS, which I think I heard in the gym one day, and I was like took off my headphones. I was like, this is a banger. It's like 124, super like kind of acidy synth line on it. So I've been playing those 2 in my sets recently, and it's always been something that I've enjoyed doing as a DJ. Is like being able to find common threads from other genres, and then present it in this context, and then people realize, oh wait, this is a house track. So shout out to those producers for doing that stuff, because for me this gray areas in between are always the most interesting.
I agree.
But I just kind of want to close out the conversation on phones, because for me there's a bit of an interesting tension. Prior to moving to Nairobi, I was based in Berlin, and DJing there is a strong no phones on the dance floor policy.
Yeah.
Most big venues will put a sticker on your camera when you walk in, so you can still use your phone, find your friends if you lose them, but you're not going to be capturing content. The trade-off here is that you don't have any user-generated content after an event, so that feeling of FOMO or everybody knowing about something being dope is kind of lost a bit. They require a bit more word of mouth, but it really translates to a much more present dance floor. And I think if you have that kind of environment, people are less likely to be demanding that you play certain tracks, because if you play a song, they know that's the song they're going to capture a video of.
True.
And now if you take that away, then now I have to listen. So I think it encourages more active listening. And I wish we could see that, because the people that are in these positions to DJ in the first place have something to say. So allow them to say it. And otherwise, I think the rest of this is just kind of like the popification of Afro House in Nairobi. It's becoming like a mainstream genre, right?
Yeah, it really is.
I heard somebody refer to me. I went to the Mist, and somebody's like, "Oh, you're that mainstream DJ," and I was like, "What?"
At the Mist, you're a mainstream DJ. Yeah.
I know. Then I have like my friend Joanna. She's like, "Yeah, you are," and it was. I guess it made me realize like, yeah, Afro House is mainstream. So it's how can we keep that underground culture and that spirit of discovery in these spaces after those genres blow up?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know.
I mean, because I feel like on a level, you want Afro House to get this global recognition it's now getting, I remember when I first started listening to Afro House, it was so underground, man. Like, this is probably before Kwaito, right after the Kwaito buzz, and it was still finding its roots. But now, fast forward to now, and you have this genre that's doing so much. I think we want it to grow, but at the same time, we want it to grow in a way that allows it to keep its most integral parts.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see how a lot of songs recently, we're finding ourselves more and more in this. A friend of mine called it the EDMification of Afro House, where a lot more songs sound like these big room tunes, and a lot more songs don't. It sounds very formulaic.
Oh, big time. And I can give you some insights onto this. So there's a website that aggregates all of the production sites. I think it's called Producer Loop or something. Last year, Afro House went from number 24 in searches to number 4. So what that means is people are downloading and using samples at an increased rate, and most of the time it's a handful of people who are making these packs. So you're hearing the same sounds over and over and over again, and sure, they sound good because they're produced at a high quality, but that takes away the creativity out of it, and it also takes away the connection and touch with African music, African culture, African dance culture as well. So again, I think the onus is on African producers to continue to be creative and continue to be original, because otherwise we're going to be stuck in this EDMification of Afro House.
That's true. Like, for example, artists I like kind of music, I love kind of music, but I always think they shouldn't be categorized as Afro House,
Yeah, I mean, they're their own thing, and I don't necessarily. I love kind of music,
Yeah.
and I don't have a problem with them. It's the cheap copycats of them, which I think are ruining the genre.
Fairs.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with you that yes, I love their music too, but I just think it should have its own separate category. I don't necessarily think it should fall into Afro House, because now, you get those cheap copycats, who just go onto YouTube, they watch the tutorials on how to make Afro House, and then now, it becomes this weird formulaic, monotonous thing where you can't. It's like I can hear my people, but I can't see my people. Where you hear these African elements, but you're just Something's missing though.
Yeah, I find the drums are just so straight on them. Like there's no swung element to it. It doesn't feel dancey. I think it sounds
Yeah,
like
there's no swing. Yeah,
yeah.
it's that.
This is making me want to hear some music, man. Some music that does not follow the formula. Some music that is a little different.
I actually have a couple of new things.
What you got for us, Ghedi?
A 3-step edit of a Kikuyu gospel track.
Okay.
Original was done with Keyloud and Suraj.
Okay.
I heard him play it at a DJ Likes show, and I just hung out backstage and harassed him until he sent me the stems.
Well, before you play that, talking about the work ethic that we were speaking about a few minutes earlier, that show was less than 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
That's what we want to see, man.
Yo,
What's up?
Beautiful.
Ghedi. Oh my gosh. When are you dropping this?
I don't know yet. I think we just finished it, so probably needs a couple more revisions. But sounding, I'm really happy with how it's sounding. I think I've had a lot of music that I've been cooking up this year, and figuring out how to drop in the next few months is super important because it doesn't matter. Like release strategy is also just as important as
Yeah.
the music itself. And a lot of artists, I think, were a bit blind on how to do this. So something I'd like to sit down and pay a lot of attention to. But soon, before New Year's.
Awesome. I would say I've seen from like your sets over the past few months, there's a number of your original songs that you've been teasing, songs that we only hear you play, and there's a good amount of videos around that that are like, I know, for example, not to give guys spoilers, but there's the Nina Noka remix.
Yeah, people bother me for that one.
Yeah,
And
drop
you see,
it.
like, I
I
think
know, the strategy just needs to be right, you know? I mean, I've captured some good content of it, and people are killing me for it at the moment. But I'm like, you know, if you want to hear it, book me. That's it.
I like that. And I think that be a lesson to everyone watching, man. Like, as a producer, making your music, owning your music, building that brand from your music, like, I think everyone associates. It's a nameless song, but we all, when we hear that on Three Step on the dance floor, it's like, where's Ghedi? Like, you know, Ghedi is playing that somewhere, you know? And I think that goes a long way in cementing what the dance floor knows Ghedi's brand to be. So,
Absolutely. And I really encourage it. I think if you look at a lot of top DJs, they'll have like secret edits or like secret weapons that they never release. Like I know Desiree has one right now, which is a mashup of and Tyler's Water. And it's, you know, these are your little tricks that you have up your sleeve, you know. So knowing which ones to give away, of course, and you know, music should be released. But if there's something you're like, you know what, this one is just for me. I encourage a lot of producers to do that because that also keeps your value high. It gives you like a unique selling point as well too. You know, start to think a bit more business.
Speaking of releases, when's your next release then?
So we have this project with Suffocate and Hiribai and Juno the Moon coming out soon. We're looking at a Q3, early Q4 release.
awesome.
But it'll be the first project on Baobab Studios. I'm really looking forward to it. We got some really dope artwork. You'll be hearing about it for sure.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us, Ghedi.
Thank you for having
so
me,
much
man.
for sharing your insights, sharing music with us. This was the first episode of Baobab Radio, coming to you from Baobab Studios, the site of Beneath the Baobabs, where we,
Boom, boom,
we
pow.
do a lot of Baobab-y stuff, man.
Box.
But no, for real, plug us on Instagram. They'll be linked on the video. And check out Beneath the Baobabs and Baobab Studios. Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
And come for our festivals.
That's the
See y'all
most important thing.
soon.